In this video we're going to look at the art of Diego Velazquez. Diego Velazquez was born in Seville 1599 in Spain. And the greatness in Velazquez is that he saw the highest art, not in the gods of ancient Greece or in the sky. He saw art in the everyday. God walks among the pots and pans. Velazquez is an artist that saw the highest truths in the everyday, the deepest meaning in the everyday, in a scene of a woman cooking eggs. And it is so beautifully observed, the objects. And you can see the sculptural quality of how he paints the objects and the figures, how beautifully observed it is. And in that observation of a sleeve or of a white veil, it transforms itself into something else. It is like a form of going beyond the real and seeing something deeper in that veil on that woman's head, in her hands, and in that egg cooking. The glazes of the pot. All those aspects, and why those aspects are important in painting, and why modern painting loses out on so much, is because look at the texture of those pots. They have expressive meaning and aesthetic beauty. The aesthetic beauty lies in the expression the artist can give to what he sees and what he understands. And Velazquez painted this when he was 18, before he went to the court of Philip IV. These were called bodegones. You can see the hands, the withered old hands, and in it you see the deepest meanings of the older woman and the young boy. The young man at the start of life, and she holds the egg and cooks the egg. So in these everyday acts we see the deepest understandings of humanity. And obviously in Seville at that time, religion and religious paintings dominated, but Velazquez, unlike most of his contemporaries, tended to paint more portraits and less religious subjects, although his religious subjects are sublime. And in this painting he paints his wife Juana as the Virgin Mary, and it's absolutely beautiful. The way he observes the fabric. That is where the expression in art lies, that ability to express the folds of that fabric, the hands, and it's just so sublimely seen and understood and expressed. And you can see how he was influenced by painters like Caravaggio and Ribera. And here we have the water cellar of Seville. And again, as I say, description in painting is not negative. It's actually extremely important, because these pots, with the way that they are painted, the glossy pot here, and this large pot, you can feel the texture, you can see the wine and the volumes, the beautifully seen volumes, the sleeve, the older man, the 3 ages of man. That painting the everyday reveals truths about the human condition, about how we age in life, and we have different stages of life. That is profound meaning. What Velazquez saw in the everyday was the most profound meanings. Not in a painting of Zeus in the sky, but here on earth is where art is, and where the mystery of life is, and the mystery of art, and the mystical nature of reality. And so you see here in the painting of Bacchus by Velazquez, how it's a group of drunken men. He brings the gods down to earth. He brings the Greek gods down to earth, and it's just men getting drunk, and they're dressed in fancy costumes. But what he's really saying is that the great art is in the everyday, is in this man's expression. Something we see today. You walk down any street today, and you'll see the same characters, the same human condition. And this never will be dated. It's always relevant, because it is communicating a infinite message about humanity, about the way we live our lives. The same patterns are repeated again and again throughout time. And Velazquez is actually more relevant now than he was in his own time, because his work is known now by more people, and before his work was only the art of the king. Only the king saw his work in the court. So you can see the expressions of the paint, and you can see how here he went to Italy and he went to learn perspective. You can see the figures here are influenced by Michelangelo. This is the Forge of Vulcan, painted on his first trip to Italy. But you can see the drawing of the tools, the form, the volumes, the pure drawing. And this is what you do not have in art today. People have misunderstood what art is. They think it is an illusionistic photographic copy. It's not. Fine art painting in the past was about drawing, about understanding what you see and expressing that, and seeing it through your own eyes. And that's what gives it this expressive power. You can see the sublime drawing, just sublime. This is the still life of these hammers, and it's repeated everywhere. And remember, this is high Greek stories, but they're told in a way which is much more down to earth. And these are probably some of his most classical type paintings. You can see the expression. That's where art lies, in the vitality of capturing something. It is not a formulaic poetic balance. The poetry comes from the truth of the artist's perception. the form of the head. That is drawing. This is what paintings today do not have. That people are copying photos, and their paintings are completely flat. They have no sense of drawing, no sense of form. What you're seeing on YouTube is formless rubbish. It's photographic, formless. It doesn't have any form. It's the decorations on a cake without any structure. And in this painting, we have the Surrender of Breda, and Velazquez makes it look like it's painted outside. This was before Impressionism. And when you're painting from your own perception, you get these wonderful patterns in painting. But it's not something which is kind of, it just happens through the process of painting. And so you have this lovely contrast of the coat here and the coat there, the white here, the two figures and the horse. It is like a magic that happens through the process of painting. It's not a magic formula. The formula is actually the expressive power of the artist and his ability to draw and comprehend the world. So there is the King Philip IV, who Velazquez painted. He was a Habsburg. You see there, you can see the beauty here, the abstract beauty of this painting of this horse's mouth. It is not photography. It is something completely different. It is sublime drawing, sublime. It is like sculpting in space, comprehending what you see, what you think, and then being able to express that. And that is where aesthetic vitality lies in painting. This is as great as any painting. Just this, as great as any painting, and the perception of the man to paint these drips from the mouth at that time. I mean, look at this. That is brushstrokes. That's painting. Baltasar Carlos, Olivares on his horse. You can see it's the incredible ability to draw the horse's fur. And this is important because this gives psychology to painting. Psychology lies in these moments of exquisite observation. That's why generalization always leads to bad painting. It has to be truthful. Painting has to be truthful. And you will say, well, that's objective. But we all have that. The more truthful you are to what you perceive and think, the better the painter you'll be. The more fake you are as a painter, the more fake your paintings will look, the more synthetic they will look. And Velazquez had this incredibly advanced way of looking at the world in terms of the tonal relationships. So the tone here, the greenish background here, makes the skin vibrate. So the relationship of colour and tone, which it took like 300 years or 200 years before people really understood the way Velazquez saw. It was completely different to what academic painting was, how it saw the world. But the thing about Velazquez is that it's full of structure, it's full of drawing. And that is the weakness of paintings which are done today, which look photographic. They have no form, they have no drawing. They do not contain form. Because painting at this time was influenced by sculpture. Western painting is a sculptural painting tradition. And here we have the painting of Juan de Pareja by Velazquez. And this was done as a warm-up study for the Pope. And this man was a painter, and Velazquez trained him as a painter. And he was Velazquez's domestic. He was of mixed race. And when this painting was exhibited in the Pantheon, they said everything else was art and this alone was truth. And what that means is that, and what makes Velazquez profound is that it goes beyond a painting. That painting can be more than just a decorative object. There is more to painting than just being a decorative object. It is meaningful. It tells us all about life. And Giacometti said that Velazquez painted a world, constructed a whole world in which you can live in. So the work of Velazquez is a world. It is the court, all characters of high and low birth and their positions of power and their relationships to each other. And what you have is this incredible awareness of different aspects of power, of how life is, and then it's observed and painted with such an incredible aesthetic beauty, like in the reds here, the red on his hat. And in this painting of the Pope Innocent X, this painting just has an incredible power. And it's not a very large painting, but if you put these huge historical paintings next to it, they appear as nothing compared to this painting. This painting is like a neutron star, the gravity it has. It pulls you in, sucks you in, and you have this incredible expression on the Pope's face. And this painting influenced Bacon. It also influenced Giacometti. And what Giacometti was fascinated with was the planes of the head, how Velazquez constructs this head. It is so sculptural and yet so soft. Sculptural and soft. Again, this is a problem which painting today has. Painting today is lightweight. It's not rigorous enough. It doesn't observe rigorously enough. It's lightweight, it's complacent. And so this fascinated Giacometti, these planes, as Giacometti was a sculptor. And Frank Auerbach said that the distance between the ear and the brow is like a mile. And you can see this brilliant observation of the plane of the cheek. And of course you have this incredible expression, where the Pope looks sceptically at the viewer, sceptically at Velazquez, and it is about power. And you have this human face, and you have what it is to be in a position of power. to be skeptical and fearful of others suspicious. And you have this incredible expression, and then you have these hands. So the Pope probably just posed for the head, and then somebody else probably posed for the body. But you have these delicate hands. So these hands which have not worked. You have these beautiful fabrics, and again, this is the problem with why description in painting is not a bad thing. It's actually a very important thing, because it adds to psychology. The psychology of this top, this silk top, and the white hair, the psychology of it, the luxury and power of it, and then you have this sweaty face, this sweaty, cynical face. And in the hand, here, you have the signature of Velazquez. And this was a petition for his knighthood. This was a petition for his knighthood because Velazquez wanted to become knighted as a painter. Because in that time in Spain, the painters were not held in high renown. And so he saw painters like Rubens, who came to Spain and were diplomats, and they had honours on them. And in Spain, the artist was not considered an artist; he was considered a workman. And what Velazquez wanted to show is that no, this is art. This is not what anyone can do. This is a form of high expression. And here we have the Rokeby Venus, and some people say this is the illegitimate son of Diego Velazquez, and it's likely that he painted it in Italy. And you see the blurry face, which looks at the viewer. And this painting, and many of the works of Velazquez, influenced Manet. So they took painting away from the gods and more to the everyday. And that made painting, it gave a different meaning to painting. It made it more about real life. And Velazquez shows us that that in itself can produce the highest art. And for me, it's greater than any of these paintings of these gods rising up and down, because it is more profoundly human, more profoundly about our condition. And here you have the weavers, and you have this moving wheel, how he was able to paint this moving wheel, the spinners, the fable of Arachne. In the background, you have a painting by Titian in the background. And this is also interesting about Velazquez, is that in his paintings he paints often the main subject in the background rather than the foreground, and the foreground he concentrates on the everyday, how the tapestry was actually made by the everyday workers. Beautiful paintings of light, impressionistic, beautiful cat, brilliant observations of everyday life but giving profound meaning. And it's incredibly painted, sublime. And here we have Velazquez is one of his most famous paintings, Las Meninas, and we are in the position where the king and queen are reflected in this mirror. So Velazquez is turning the tables and painting us. So they're looking at us while we're looking at them. And what this painting says is that life itself, life is the greatest art. Picasso said, painting is the lie that tells the truth. While Velazquez says, painting is the lie that tells the truth, but that truth itself is an illusion, a momentary appearance in time, and then all is gone. And I have some exquisite portraits here in this. There you have the knighthood on the chest of Velazquez. You have these incredible portraits, the maids and the little girl, and incredible paintings. This incredible dog, and this incredible painting of a dwarf, one of the great portraits in European painting. It is so vivid that it expresses itself today. You can go on a bus and you can see this today. On any bus, and you can see the way he captured life. It is more relevant even today because the paintings of Velazquez in the past were hidden. Beautiful dog. So that is my view of the art of Velazquez. And what Velazquez tells us is that what is true painting is not some high-minded poetical fudge. It is an expression of life itself, and the expression of the artist towards his environment, what he sees, what he thinks. And this is painted by him through his own eyes. He draws it through his own eyes. He doesn't copy it. It's not flat copying. It's full of structure, full of drawing. And this is what is not understood today, because people are copying photos. They don't understand the aspect of drawing, which is so fundamental to painting. And what we need to do today in figurative painting is get back to truth in painting. Truthful draftsmanship. Which doesn't have to be like Velazquez, but in that same spirit of seeking the truth, being sincere with how you paint, not worrying about the way it pleases the public. It is not an illusion contest. It is a truth contest. Painting is a truth contest. The more truth you have in your paintings, the better you will be as a painter, and your work will last longer. All these lightweight photo painters, their work has no substance to it. The work that has substance is the work that is truthful. Thank you.